afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And we're talking about the Gentleman TV series currently on Netflix. This is based on the movie The Gentleman. It's different but similar. It's not a spin-off or anything like that. Just a different take on that particular film in series format. I am here with the lovely Christine. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Could be better, I'll say that. But thank you for asking. So we've both seen the series. I binged it all in one day yesterday. Christine, fortunately for her, I just finished watching it today. And straight off the bat, Chris, how did you find the show?
Awesome. And there better be a sequel.
Yeah.
There better be like series after series after series, really, unless they get shitty and then stop it, because I don't want to ruin a good thing.
Yeah. This is live, Rick B. I was going to go and do a recording, but in the famous words of Ginger Greek, I couldn't be asked. So yeah. Yeah, I like this show very much. I didn't think it was absolutely perfect, and it definitely went down the comedy route a lot with the sprinkling of gangsterism here and there. I was finding certain characters to be kind of irritating simply because it was getting repetitive, like the character of Freddie Halstead, the elder brother, who kept needing to be bailed out by his younger brother all the time. Like, I understand once or twice, but when you keep going back to that well, it's like, oh fuck me, here we go again. Like time they had to rob that Filipino woman for a Lamborghini, and he couldn't start his car, and he ended up getting captured and stuff like that. I'm thinking this is happening a bit too often now.
Oh, there's gonna be spoilers, by the way, guys.
Oh yes, oh yeah, there will be spoilers. Yeah, I do apologize for not mentioning that earlier. So that kind of, I found that a little bit funny and a bit stupid at the same time.
Yeah.
But what I did like about the show was like, wow, Giancarlo Esposito's in this. Never expected to see him in this particular show. Ray Winston is in this. Wasn't expected to see him. Obviously Vinnie Jones showed up very early in the first episode. Nice to see him. Probably one of his best roles in a while, playing this very how do I say it? Basically, like a streetwise groundskeeper, so to speak. Somebody who is very much loyal to the family and will take care of them. But then you understand why, because just to start with their relationship, his relationship with Lady Sabina, who is the our protagonist's mother. You think there's a will they, won't they sort of thing going on between them two, but you then realize very later on that they've already done it. Like they've done the deed, and they actually got a daughter because the sister of our protagonist, her father is Vinnie Jones, the groundskeeper.
Yeah,
and I had no idea. That was such a surprise how they explained it very quickly. Just verbally, it was just like it said immediately, and then you realize, oh shit, they have banged. This is not a will they won't they situation.
Did you catch it when that gypsy girl was riding the horse? Did you catch on then?
Well, he was a groundskeeper, so it was, and he was very close to the family, so I never really picked up on that particular moment, because I never really thought that he shagged Lady Sabrina. I just thought that they were very much a couple of people who had a liking for each other, but never went beyond that. They never crossed that line. But you realize they had crossed that line when they were younger. So, yeah, I never really realized. I never really put two and two together. But that was a pleasant surprise in this show, which I did like. And yeah, I love Vinnie Jones in this. He was so good. He's so good all the time. Yes, my grace. Yes, my grace. Yes, my grace. Proper like. Have you ever seen that film Mrs. Brown with Billy Connolly?
Maybe.
He basically plays like a groundskeeper himself, like a stable master, and him and the Queen Victoria,
Oh yeah,
who
yeah,
is who was played by Dame Judi Dench.
yes.
They have like a relationship, So it's
So she's in mourning, and it's based on a true story. After her husband died, she always
yeah,
wore black, but she was rumored to have been in an affair with the groundskeeper. But apparently, they
yeah,
were either just really close, or they were doing it.
yeah. And there's always there's other rumors as well. Apparently, Lady Di had a relationship with is it Harding? That's the guy's name. But anyway, there's all rumors. But back to the main meat and potatoes of this. The other will they won't they in this was between our protagonist of Eddie, who very early on we find out is a military man, and so we know he can take care of his shit, and he's very well spoken and all of that. And then he has to come back because his father's dying. His father was played by one of the Fox brothers. I keep forgetting if it's Edward or James. But he was only in the opening episode. He dies, and then traditionally, the property always goes to the eldest son, that being Freddie. But it skips him
Freddie
this time, and
fuck up.
yeah. Well, at first you just think he's pissed off because he's a sport kid and all of that, and you then realize why he's so desperate for the estate because he has to pay off some gangsters. But his brother is the one who actually who helps bail him out consistently. But he gets to know Susie Glass,
Did you
who has a
freeze? I
weed
think you
operation.
froze on.
Am I still here? You're frozen on me, Chris. Chris, you're frozen on me.
Sorry, I can see you now and hear you.
Okay.
I can hear and see you now. All right.
No problem. So he has this relationship with Susie Glass, who had a relationship with his father, a business relationship, where she was growing weed on their property because they could do with the money. They were making $5 million a year to grow weed on their property. Eddie now has found this out because his dad's died, so he basically inherited the home. And so he meets Susie Glass. And throughout the 8 episodes, the will they won't they of Susie and Eddie never really materialized. And who knows, it might materialize in the future episodes. But I did like the fact that you were thinking that them two were going to get it on, but they never did.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't, because I think that would have cheapened it. She would have been there just as a love interest instead of a boss bitch that she was. And it's still kind of, at the same time, you kind of still want them to. So it's giving that little like, oh, well, anticipation thrill as well. So maybe next season or the season after.
Yeah.
But if they'd just done it right away, it would have been.
Yeah, I agree. We have Giancarlo Esposito in this as Uncle Stan, also known as Stanley Johnston with a T, and he wants to buy their property because he has grand, I think like a grand idea, so to speak, of like maybe building some massive meth lab there, and it kind of reminded me of the character he played of Gus in Breaking Bad, so to speak, because he was a meth gangster as well. So I was thinking that a little bit different, a bit more highbrow, a bit more high class. But that was so I saw all of that. But we have various other gangsters and other individuals as well. For instance, we have these Scousers who are like religious, like a religious cartel who deal in drugs and money laundering. And
their leader is, and they have to do what he says. So they're like, oh yeah,
exactly. And they do their loan sharking, and they deal with drugs and betting and stuff like that. And initially, when Danny refuses to pay up, they have to deal with them initially. And we do see in the pilot episode, one of the gangsters getting killed by Danny, and then the cover up that entails after that, and unfortunately the loss of life for certain people who are totally innocent, like that other Scouts kid who had nothing to do with it. But yeah, and it was even going to be paid off to be sent away, but he ended up getting killed as well because he becomes a loose end.
Yeah, I love how he turns. I love how he turns around and sees the body and just goes like this.
Yeah, and he runs. And it kind of goes to show that you know like you want this guy to dress up as a chicken and perform for you. He does that. You're still not fucking satisfied after all that's going on, and then you wonder, why you end up getting a double barrel shotgun to the face.
Mhm.
Like you had everything. You could have just taken the money. You humiliated this guy. You could have recorded him, but no, it wasn't enough for you. And then the repercussions were there. So yeah, you pushed him over the edge. We have oh god, why is he not on my list of actors? But we have one particular cast member who we see later on. He was like the boxing promoter, so to speak.
Oh,
He
and
had
he's pretty famous too. He's been in
yeah.
a lot of films.
His name is I've seen him in a few things. I'm trying to find his name,
But
but
I like his little move there. I mean, Gus pushed him into it, but he tried. But
yep,
just before his move, if you see how it builds up to the whole "I protect my family" concept, when the Duke's brother sits down at the table with her just before the boxing match starts, and he implies that, if my brother were out of the picture, I'd be the Duke, and you wouldn't have any problems with me. We can continue this drug venture together, because the Duke wants out of it, right, to begin with. Anyway, and she's like, looks at him, and I was surprised that her character didn't take him up on it, because obviously
I
Freddie
don't,
can be manipulated, but she just looks at him and says, family's everything to me, or like, that's my brother, I'd do anything for him, implying like, you're a fucking little creep, you're to want your brother dead. And then her brother being used against her like 5 minutes later in that whole episode was kind of cool.
I was yeah, I was very disappointed in the brother of Danny because Max Beasley, yeah, that's it. I was disappointed in the brother of Danny because his brother's bailed him out so many times, and now he's willing to throw his brother under the bus, so to speak, just so he can inherit this empire. Um, Max
Which
Beasley,
he
yeah,
would have destroyed. He would have destroyed it in months.
he would have been manipulated. They would have taken over from him,
Yeah.
and they would have destroyed him. We had the travelers as well, the gypsies. They had a part to play in this as well regarding sending their product abroad, and they were putting it inside the Virgin Mary statue, all this weed as well. So all these different factions. We had the boxers. Susie Glass, her brother, is a boxer as well. So he had his part to play. There were so many factions. We had the posh guy who was an Adolf Hitler enthusiast. That was hilarious. He had Adolf Hitler's testicle in a fucking in a jar of
Or
fucking pickle juice.
or he thought he did. I'm sure it wasn't, but he thought it was, and he was happy about it. But I like how he ends up.
Now, this is the funny thing because I looked at things a little bit differently here because like when he was showing off Adolf Hitler's art to Eddie, I and Eddie was like saying the art looks like shit. I was
Yeah.
thinking to myself, it could look like the biggest pile of shit ever. It belongs to fucking Adolf Hitler. There must be something in that alone, to make it worth billions. Regardless of how
Right.
terrible the art is, it's Adolf fucking Hitler's art. That in itself makes it priceless.
Well, I
Surely.
think he was doing that because he knew it would hurt his feelings if he told me it looked like shit. I mean,
Yeah,
you're right. It could be beautiful, it could be shit. It's Hitler's stuff. It's horrible. But he knew the guy was so into Hitler that he called it shit, I think on purpose. I mean, it's not good art, but I think he went overboard and it said it several times. This is crap art. This is crap, not in those words, to make him hurt. Because it's such a
yeah,
horrible thing
yeah.
to worship, right?
Well, yeah, and he was like the sort of aristocrat that a lot of people stereotype as being, like hierarchy, white supremacy type of people. Look down at the rest of society, part of that, associated with the colonizers of yesteryear and all of that sort of shit. But yeah, you got a good point there. Seeing that fucking dog eat Hitler's nut at the end, absolutely hilarious. Very Guy Ritchie like in how they portray how things are edited, because sometimes you get to the aftermath and then it explains what happened with all the skullduggery and action and stuff like that, and they're fucking throwing grenades and God knows what, or with the Chinese guy they're fighting who's loan shark
Yeah.
in the blackmailer and all of that sort of shit. Like, yeah, there's just so much going on. But what I did like about a lot of these episodes, that a lot of issues got resolved within an episode or within a couple of episodes, and then they moved on to the next thing. Yeah, some things did come back, like the Scousers. They did come back near the end. But then you found out other things as well, like obviously Stan having his influence as well, and having his spies within that organization, and sabotaging it, because you had that young girl who was friends with the weed grower, and I couldn't believe how stupid that guy was. It was infuriating. You know what I mean? You can't be that, as much of a hippie as you are, you can't be that fucking naive in that industry with these killers, these gangsters. So
it was an
I thought
obvious
that-
honey trap. I mean, it was so obvious. I hate to say this, but they would have been better off using a less attractive woman who was just very pleasant and listen to him talk and paid him attention for him to fall for it. You know what I mean? But for him to, you're punching above your weight, buddy.
Yeah, he was definitely out of his league for sure. And you had other things as well, like you had the corn dog guys who were the money launderers and stuff like that. Them being Indian, some of the stuff the guy was saying, I could get it, and it was hilarious. Like constantly insulting him with Indian slang and stuff like that. Very amusing. I liked it.
I like that actor. He's a comedian in real life, right?
Yeah, he's a comedian. There's a shit movie on Netflix called The Bubble. Have you seen that? It's got a lot of big actors in there, and he's in it as well. But the film is really fucking shit. It's basically set around COVID, and it's called The Bubble because these guys are trying to make a movie during COVID, and so there's a lot of isolation and stuff like that. So and he's trying to be funny, but it ends up it's not funny whatsoever.
While we're still on that guy, I love how he gets on the internet the next day. Yo, if you see the skinny bastard, kick him up. And it was so funny. And then the next day he's like, oh, Mrs. Glass, you know how much I love you? Because I think he got threatened. Well, I know he got threatened. But
we also see in this, as time goes by, Ray Winston, who is another surprise cameo. Or I don't want to say cameo. These guys have significant roles to play, but they're small roles, but played by big actors. And he's a gangster who's in jail, but the jail he's in is like, there's not one point you think to yourself that he's behind bars. He's living the good life. He's having Wagyu steak. He's got pigeons he can look after. You send them messages and stuff like that.
Well, he's on the roof. He's on the roof of the jail, and the guy making the Wagyu steaks is also in jail. Because you find out in the last very episode when he is eating with that other guy, Gus, on the roof, he's like, yeah, we'll have steaks like this for another year because Buddy's role was denied. So I think
I agree. But even earlier on, they were like sitting in like the fields, and in some very nice looking shack, outdoor shack, and so he seemed to be. So whatever prison he's in, he seems to be living the good life, even though he's in prison. So I would like to know what prison that is, just in case I have to end up going behind bars for whatever reason it may be.
He's like he's at least a billionaire, because I think at one time they figured out that with the 12 farms, they were making just over $1 billion a year. I mean, after you pay people out, let's say $500 million, but he's had it for years and years and years. So with that kind of cash, you can bribe anyone.
Yeah,
or intimidate them with their families, right? So.
Yep. And one person I've really spoken very little about is Eddie himself, but during the course of Eddie being involved in this whole sinister world, which he kind of had to embrace very quickly, simply because he's got no choice. He's taken to it like a duck to water, but he wants out. I do like the way that his mum, even though his mum kind of knows what's going on, she never really gets involved in anything too much. She's always in the background. She never becomes an irritant, which is a good thing. He has got people like Vinnie Jones, obviously, he can trust upon as well. But he very much built for this gangster life, and he is that gentleman. And he's a very intriguing character. But very early on, because if you see him as a military man, yeah, this guy can take care of himself, and he does, and he's witted. And you saw how he was dealing with the Syrians on the Turkish border, dealing with all these little problems that he had to think on his feet, which then brings it to the gangster world, how he has to think on his feet and stuff like that.
And he doesn't go right to violence. He's very diplomatic at first, but you're right. He can handle himself. Like as soon as he was bringing, I think, the 5 or 15 mil to get washed to that comedian.
Yeah.
And this comedian sidekick was like stepping up to him and it was like right in the fucking throat, like right away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, I'll help you put the money back in the car, Mr. Duke, or whatever. Like,
yeah, then he got the boss to put the money back in the car because he beat up his henchman. But
yeah.
then he also finds out with Susie Glass, who's supposed to be the person he's working alongside, that she doesn't want to let go of Eddie, and she's got hooks in him, and mentioning about how the money laundering will take several months, when reality is Max Beasley's character can get it done in a couple of days. So
and she says 3 months, and then the money launderer lets it slip that she said take your time 4 or 5 months. So you kind of know, if you sat down and thought about it, why would a gangster give up a profitable piece of property where they're making dough? But I guess he starts off very naive, but you see as he grows, he becomes less naive, and you can even see it in his posturing. Like at the end, and he's sitting behind his desk, like he's the boss man now, and he's come up with this plan. This is how I'm going to get the money. This is how I'm going to get rid of my competition. Like he's really growing into the character from someone who wants out of it to someone who now wants to run it.
Yeah. And then at the very end, when it came to the negotiations of who takes over Ray Winston's business, it was just a domino effect of taking the competition out, which was really nicely done. Not Gus, Stan, he goes to jail. The Filipino woman kills somebody.
Oh, that
she herself,
the Russian.
Oh yeah, the posh kid, the posh guy who only had contacts but no money. She herself then gets killed by Max Beasley's character, and then Max Beasley's character gets killed himself at the end by Eddie.
Yeah,
and
I
then
thought that was a cute little piece there where it kind of. At first, I was afraid that she was setting him up to have a body on him, like for possible blackmail. But then I thought maybe it's just them connecting and fermenting their partnership. You know what I mean? When he kills, and because you'd think she'd want to do it because he had her brother fucked up, right?
Yeah, put him in the coma. Yeah, I guess. But in a way, he keeps their hands clean if he does it. So, and for a man who then wants to get out of this industry, he's right in it, and
he's good at it.
He was made for. People were telling him, "You were made for it."
Yeah,
but it's going to be interesting to see, like this high society person with his high society family, with their hairs and graces, surrounded by blue collar criminals of various types. Whether they're like travelers who still live the old-fashioned way, or people who have made it in the industry and are living a much higher lifestyle, but still remember where they come from. It's going to be interesting.
I'm wondering.
Turns out.
you're right. It's gonna be interesting with the established crooks, and I can't wait to see that part of it. But I'm wondering because he hangs out with the princess a couple times, and the last time we see her at the bar with him, and he says, "I need your help." She's like, "Just be aware, this is a very bad, bad man." Now, if she were just hanging out with him socially, she might perceive that he's not a good guy. But she's like, he's a very bad, bad man. What is she into as well? And is she gonna pop up later?
I think we'll find out more
Yeah.
of her grievances next season, because obviously for a lot of these aristocrats to hang around somebody like Stan, they obviously want to remain in that lavish lifestyle, but they might not necessarily have the assets or the money to do so. And then they need people like Stan to maintain that for them. A bit like Trump in a way. He's got no fucking money after he blew all of his dad's inheritance, and so he starts loan sharking and borrowing. So not loan sharking, he borrows from lots of people, and has to con his way to the top, basically. So yeah, it's similar to that. Anyway, I don't want to get too political. All right, so I enjoyed the series. I thought it was pretty good. I already am looking forward to season 2. God knows how long that'll be. Probably 2 years from now. They don't make seasons every year like they once did. It takes forever to fucking get a season out nowadays. So,
well,
what are you gonna give it?
I made sure on Netflix it says, "Do you like this? Do you really, really like this?" I always put, if I really like something, I take the time to say I love this, because I'm sure that helps with the next season being made and being brought out sooner.
I hope so. I genuinely hope so. What are you gonna give it out of 10?
That's hard because 10 is perfect. And even though I really, really enjoyed it, I don't feel right giving anything perfect because there's always room for improvement. Even though I can't really point out what I would improve, I'm going to have to give it like a 9.5.
Really?
I really like
Uh,
it. I want to watch it again right away.
I'm a big fan of gangster stuff. I love it. And I recommend watching Griselda if you've seen that. It's on Netflix as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really good. It's about a woman who's was
Oh,
involved
yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
and she goes to Miami and becomes a drug lord. And
She's based on a real woman. And
yeah,
and I think it was who's the biggest Colombian cartel guy that ever existed?
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, there's a quote from him, and I'm gonna have to paraphrase it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
he was asked.
him being scared of her.
Yeah, he was asked, "Who's the man you are most afraid of?" And he said, "The man I was most afraid of was a woman named something Blanca, Griselda
Yeah, yeah.
Blanca was her name."
Griselda Blanco.
Yeah, Griselda
Yeah,
Blanca. The man I'm most afraid of was a woman named.
yeah,
Yeah, and for him to
yeah.
say that.
So yeah, anything gangsterish is really good. On Paramount Plus, they have Sexy Beast, the series, which is really good. It's a prequel to the movie
I'll
Sexy
check it
Beast,
out.
and there's a British gangster drama as well, like The Gentleman. I think it's actually better than the movie. I've done a review for it for this channel, so I recommend that as well. But yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. I did enjoy it. I, I I I thought some of the things, like I said, the situation with the brother and him being that monkey in the wrench or the spanner in the works, as we say in the UK, was getting a bit tedious at times. But
Yeah,
overall,
I think
yeah,
that and the drug guy, their characters were. That's why I didn't give it a perfect 10. They're unbelievable to a point where yeah, they should screw up a bit, but they went overboard. Yes.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And in a way, that drug guy, the weed grower, in a way, I was kind of surprised that he was still alive, considering the way they were bumping people off.
Yeah.
So like he invited her back to their fucking place and everything.
I
So
figured he would just really, really good at his job, and that was the only reason he was alive. Like they needed him because of the weed growing ability. And I thought, for sure, why is he not dead? Because he gave out the home address of his boss, brought that woman to the location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Do you recognize the actor who played the Belgium guy? He's that wildling actor from Game of Thrones.
I didn't recognize him. No.
Yeah, he played the wildling, the guy north of the wall, I
Right.
think, in Game of Thrones. But yeah, he played the sort of Belgian guy who got poisoned. Remember
Yes,
they
I
poisoned
remember the
him?
Belgian
Yeah.
guy in this
Yeah.
gentleman, but I don't remember.
He had a bigger beard. His beard was bigger. Look, he was
Okay.
a brutish man in Game of Thrones, but yeah. Anyway, so okay, yeah. So I give it an 8. I did enjoy it, and I look forward to more. And yeah, it was a very good show, and more of this sort of stuff, please. I love gangster stuff. I love it. I love it. Is one of my it's one of the most enjoyable genres when it comes to my personal viewing, simply because I almost feel like there's a battle of wits and there's a chess game being played, and it's a life or death game when it comes to gangster stuff, and it's very enjoyable to see that chess game being played, and people who are a master in criminal activities. It's fascinating. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Right. I was just going to say that there's gangsters that, act on impulse, and then there's the ones that play chess, and those fascinate me as well. And we get that in this show.
For sure. Anything else to add, Chris, before we wrap up?
Yeah, anyone who's watching that likes gangster stuff like Zam and myself, check out more of Guy Ritchie's work. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. I'm sure he's got other work that I'm not familiar with.
There's the Rock and Roller, which is okay.
Oh yeah, that's
and
all right.
And obviously the movie The Gentleman,
I haven't
which
seen
is
it.
Oh really?
I'm gonna watch it after this. I'm gonna watch it right after this.
It has God. Why is his name escaping me now? The actor from Interstellar. God damn it! No. Oh my God, Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, okay.
Matthew McConaughey. Oh, you know him. Trust me. You know him when you see him. Matthew McConaughey. He's the lead in that. In The Gentleman. He basically plays a guy from Texas.
Don't give it away. Okay. I want to watch it.
Okay, sorry. All right, no problem. I won't say anymore. Yeah, watch it. It's on Netflix, so you can't.
Oh, I know wrong. Matthew. Yeah. He played in the Dallas Buyers Club or something.
I think so. Where he played an AIDS victim.
Yes.
Fish and chips are ready. See you all next time. Yesterday on Netflix, I found it enjoyable. Try yesterday. The movie yesterday about the guy who is in a world where they don't know, where he knows about the Beatles, but nobody else knows about the Beatles, and he's playing all the Beatles songs, and he comes across as the greatest musician of all time, because nobody knows about the Beatles other than him. Yeah, is that the one?
Sounds right. I gotta try that too. I'm gonna watch.
Is that all of a sudden people just don't know about the Beatles anymore? That how did this happen? Yeah, he knows all their songs, and like some people are unaware of the Beatles. Anyway, I don't want to spoil that too much for you. All right, so thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, and we do live streams on Twitch, X, also known as Twitter, as well as YouTube. Take care now. See you, Chris.
Bye. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.